Hello, family and friends. Welcome back to my channel. This is Cynthia from Cynthia's Crafts and More. If you're new here, welcome. It's an honor to have you. Today I'm going to be doing a reading from the Bible.com YouVersion, the Bible app. And I'm reading the book of Leviticus. And I'll be reading the final chapters 25 through 27. Leviticus chapter 25, the Sabbath year. Moses was on Sinai's mountain. The Lord spoke to him there. The Lord said, "Speak to Israel's people. They will go into the land that I will give to them. Then the land must have a Sabbath rest to the Lord. They can plant seeds in the fields for 6 years. They can cut the leaves of the plants, and they can harvest the fruit for 6 years. In the 7th year, the land must have a rest. They must not plant seeds in the fields or cut the leaves. They must not harvest fruit or grain. The land must have a year for rest. All of the people can eat anything that grows by itself. Excuse me. In the Sabbath, all the people can. Excuse me. All the people can eat anything that grows by itself in the Sabbath year. That will be food for you and for your servants and for your animals. Excuse me. And other people who live among you can eat it. The wild animals also can eat anything that grows by itself in the Sabbath year. The Jubilee year. People must count 7 lots of Sabbath years. That is 49 years. In the 50th year, they must make loud music. They must blow trumpets on the 10th day of the 7th month. That is the Day of Atonement. They must blow the trumpet through all the country. The year will be special. It is a Jubilee year. It is a time for everyone of my people to become free. Everyone can return to his own land and to his people. The 50th year is a Jubilee year. The people must not plant any seed in the fields. They must not harvest anything that grows by itself on the bushes. It is a Jubilee year for the people, and they can eat only food that they take from the fields. The Jubilee year, every person must return to the land of his people. If the people buy and sell land from each other, they must be honest with each other. The person who is selling the land will decide the price. He must count the number of years until the next Jubilee year. When there are many years, the price must be big. When there are a few years, the price must be small. The number of years that the land will give food to eat is what is important. Be honest with each other and respect God. I am the Lord your God. The people must obey the rules. If they do, they will be safe. You will be able to grow food on the land, and the people will have plenty to eat. They will be safe. The people may ask, what will they eat in the 7th year? They will not have planted any seeds. God will cause a lot of food to grow in the 6th year. They will have food for 3 more years. When a person plants seeds in the 8th year, he will still be eating the crops that he planted in the 6th year. Next time he will harvest the plants from the fields will be in the 9th year. The people must never sell the land for all time. The land belongs to God. He has said to the people can live on it. A person may buy land, but he must remember that he may have to sell it back to the seller. If a man becomes poor, he can sell some of his land. A person from his family must buy the land back for the man. But the man might not have any family. If he stops being poor, he can buy the land back. He must count how many years until the next Jubilee. He must pay the right amount of the land for the right amount of money for the land. Then he can live on the land again. If the man is too poor to buy the land back, it would belong to the other person. It will belong to the other person until the next Jubilee year. He must return it to the poor man in the Jubilee year. A man may sell a house in a city with walls. For 1 year after he sells it, he can buy it back. If the man does not buy the house back, it will belong to the other person and his sons. It will belong to them for all time. They will not have to return it in the Jubilee year. If the house is in a village, a person can buy it back. If he does not buy it back, they will return it to him in Jubilee year. The Levites, people from the family of Levi, can buy back the houses in their towns. In the Jubilee year, the Levites must get back the houses that they sold. Their towns belong to the Levites. The Levites must not sell the fields that belong to their towns. God gave them their towns and cities to live in for all time. People who have a lot of money must lend it to the poor. Excuse me. An Israelite may become poor. He may not be able to feed his family. You must help him. You would help a visitor or a foreigner in the same way. You must help the man so that he can continue to live among you. The man must not pay back more than you can give to him. You must obey your God. The person who is feeding the man might give money or food to him. You must not ask for more back than he gave. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of Egypt. I brought you into this land to be your God. If an Israelite becomes poor, he might sell himself to you, but he must not work for you as a slave. You must pay him to work as your servant. He must work for you until the next Jubilee year. In the Jubilee year, you will make him free. He and his children can go back to his own home and family. Israel's people belong to God. I took them out of Egypt. They must not be slaves. You must be kind to all Israelites. Remember to obey your God. Israel's people can buy male and female slaves. Those slaves must come from other countries. And Israelites can buy people from other countries who live among them. They may have children who were born in your land. You may buy them. They will become slaves. You can give the slaves to your children when you die, but you must rule Israel's people in a kind way. A person from another country may become rich. Then he may buy an Israelite who became poor. But the poor man can buy himself back at any time. A person from the family of the poor man can buy him back. A brother or a cousin of the poor man can buy him back. If the poor man becomes rich, he can pay to make himself free. The man and the person who bought him must count the time until the Jubilee year. The man must pay the right amount of money to be free. A Jubilee year may be many years away. If it is, the man must pay a lot of money to be free. There may be a few years until the next Jubilee year. If there are, he has to pay only a small amount of money to be free. The person who has bought the man must pay him each year. You must cause the rich man to be kind to the man. Perhaps nobody will pay any money for the man, but the man who bought him must make him free in the Jubilee year. Israel's people belong to me. I brought them out of Egypt. They are my servants. I am the Lord. And this concludes Leviticus chapter 25. Leviticus chapter 26. You must not make idols from stones and worship them. You must not draw things on stones and bend down in front of them. I am the Lord your God. You must rest on the Sabbath days, and you must keep them holy. You must respect God's house. I am the Lord. The people must carefully obey the rules. If they do, I will send rain at the proper time. Plants for food will grow in the ground. Fruit will grow on your trees. People will harvest grain until the grapes are ready to eat. They will harvest the grapes until it is time to plant the seeds. They will have all the food to eat that they need. I will keep them safe in their land. I will stop war in Israel. When the people sleep, they will not be afraid. I will take the wild animals away. Other people will not hurt my people. Israel's enemies will run away from them. They will kill their enemies. 5 of you will run after 100 of them, and 100 of you will run after 1,000 enemies. You will kill all your enemies. I will do good things for your people, and I will give many children to them. Their number will grow, and I will do everything that I have promised to do for them. They will have so much food that some will remain after the next harvest. I will have my home among you, my people. I will never turn away from them. I will walk among the people. They will belong to me. I am the Lord your God. I brought you out of Egypt. You will not be slaves of the people of Egypt. I saved you so that you will not be ashamed. People who do not obey the rules will not give any pleasure to the Lord. God will be angry if the people do not listen to him. He will be angry if they do not obey his rules. The people may not respect or obey God's rules, so they will not be doing what they promised him. God will send disease to these people. They will be afraid. The people will have diseases in their eyes. They will get thin and they will die. They will plant their seed and their enemies will eat the fruit. God will fight against you. Your enemies will win the war. They will become your rulers. Your soldiers will run away even when nobody is running after them. The people may not obey even after this. If they do not, God will punish them 7 times more strongly. He will make them ashamed. He will not send any rain, and the land will be hard and dry. Even if they do a lot of work, no grain will grow. No fruit will grow on the trees. The people may still not listen to God. If they do not, he will be 7 times more angry. If they do not obey him, he will cause their lives to be 7 times more difficult. He will send wild animals to kill their children and their animals. The land will be almost empty. The people may still not listen to God. If they do not, he will be angry. He will become their enemy. If they do not obey him, he will punish them 7 times more strongly. He will send enemy soldiers to kill the people. They have not done what they promised to do, so he will punish them for that. For if they go back to their cities, he will send them diseases. The enemy will win the war. The people will not have any food. A woman will bake 1 loaf for 10 people, for 10 families. They will weigh it to give 1 part to each family. When a person eats his piece of bread, he will still be hungry. If the people still turn away from God, he will be even more angry. They will not turn away from their sin, so he will turn away from them. He will punish them 7 times more again. They will be so hungry that they will eat their own children. The Lord destroyed the places where they worship false gods. He would destroy their very bad incense altars. He will put their dead bodies around their idols. He will hate them. He will destroy the cities. He will destroy the places for wrong worship. Nobody will burn incense to give the Lord pleasure. God will destroy the land. He will cause the enemies to live in your land, to hate it. God will push you out. He will send your people away from other countries. After he destroyed your cities, and will make your land a desert. The land will have a Sabbath rest while there are no people in it. All the time that it is empty, the land will have rest. It will have the Sabbath rest, and it did not have that it did not have. It did not have it when you lived in it. Some of Israel's people will remain in other countries. They will be frightened. A leaf that is blowing in the wind will cause them to run away. It will be like when an enemy is running after them. They will fall even if no enemy is running after them. They will fall over each other when nobody is running after them. They will not be strong enough to fight their enemies. They will die in the land. They will die in the countries where they are living. Those countries will cause their deaths. Those who remain there will die because of their sins. They will die because their ancestors did not obey God. Your sons and grandsons must tell me, the Lord, that they are sorry. They must be sorry because they did not obey my rules. They must be sorry that they turned away from me. They must remember that they made me angry. They caused me to turn away from them. I am the Lord, and I sent them to their enemies' country. They will be sorry until I have punished them enough. Then I will remember my covenant with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I will remember that I gave their land to them. Before this land will be empty and it will have rest, my people will pay for the bad things that they did. But I, the Lord, will not kill all of them. The people will be living in their enemy's country. Excuse me. Then I will remember them. I will not leave them alone. I will remember my covenant with them. I am the Lord, their God. I will remember my covenant with the ancestors that I brought out of Egypt. The people of other nations saw me do this. I am the Lord. These are the rules that the Lord gave to Moses on Sinai mountain. They are his covenant with Israel's people. And this concludes Leviticus chapter 26. Leviticus chapter 27. Rules about gifts to the Lord. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to Israel's people. Tell them this. A person must not give another person to the Lord for a special promise. They can make that person free, but they must give the right amount of money to God. For a man between 20 years and 60 years old, they must give 50 pieces of silver. For a woman, they must give 30 pieces of silver. For a male between 5 years and 20 years old, they must give God 20 pieces of silver. For a female, they must give 10 pieces of silver. For a boy between 1 month and 5 years old, they must give 5 pieces of silver. For a girl of the same age, God must have 3 pieces of silver. If a man is older than 60 years, they must give 15 pieces of silver. For a woman, they must give 10 pieces of silver. A person might say this special promise to God, but he might be too poor to pay the money. He must bring the person to the priest. The priest will tell the person how much money to pay. The priest will know how much money the man can give. If the promise is to give an animal to God, the animal becomes holy to the Lord. The person must not charge a good animal for a bad animal. He must not charge a bad animal for a good animal. If the person does change one animal for another, both the animals become holy. The animal might be an animal that you must not eat, and you cannot give it to the Lord. If it is, the person must bring it to the priest. The priest will decide if the animal is good or bad. The person might want to buy the animal back. He must pay the price of the animal and 1/5 more. The person must give his house to the Lord. The priest will decide if the house is good or bad. The priest will decide the price of the house. The person might want to buy the house back. He must pay the price of the house and 1/5 more. Then it will bring along. Then it will belong. Then it will again belong to him. A person might give part of his land to the Lord. The person will decide the price of how much seed the land needs. The price will be 50 pieces of silver for a homer, 220 liters of seed. If a person gives his land in a jubilee year, the price is the same. The person might give his land after the jubilee year. The priest will count the number of years before the next jubilee. The price will be less. A person might want to buy the land back. He must pay the price of the land and 1/5 more. He may not buy it back before the year of Jubilee. Then the field becomes holy. But the man may have sold the land to another person. If he has, he cannot get it back. In the Jubilee year, the land will become holy. Then it will belong to the priest. A person might buy some land from another person. He might give the land to the Lord. The priest will count how many years there are until the Jubilee year. The person must pay the money on that day. The money is holy to the Lord. In the Jubilee year, the land returns to the family from whom he bought it. The priest must decide the price of the land. He must use the correct measures. The first baby that an animal has is holy. It belongs to the Lord. A person cannot give it as a special gift to the Lord. The animal might be an unclean animal, an animal that must not eat. The person can pay the price of the animal and 1/5 more to get it back. If the person does not buy it back, the priest will sell it. A man might give to the Lord something that the man has. Everything that a man gives like that is holy. It might be a person, an animal, or land. The priest must not sell it. A man cannot take it back. Everything that someone gives to the Lord is most holy. God must decide that a person must die. If he does, nobody can buy the person back. The person must die. 1/10 of everything that comes from the land is holy to the Lord. It may be grain or fruit. It belongs to the Lord. If a person buys back any of his gifts, he must pay the price and 1/5 more. Out of every 10 animals, only one animal is holy. It belongs to the Lord. A person must not change a good animal for a bad animal. The person must not change a bad animal for a good animal. If he does that, both animals are holy. They belong to God. A person cannot buy them back. These are the rules that the Lord gave to Moses on Sinai Mountain. They are the rules for Israel's people. And this concludes Leviticus chapter 27. I hope you've enjoyed these readings and that you will come back tomorrow for the starting of book of Numbers. I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful, and blessed day. And I pray that you stay warm, safe, healthy, and dry. Remember that Jesus loves you, and so do I. And let's pray for peace and love. Until tomorrow, God bless. Love you guys.